So hi guys, how are we all?
Good.
Good.
How
How
are
are
you?
you?
I'm good, thank you. I just wanted to start off and congratulate you all on a wonderful second season. I'm fairly new to Big Shot. I was telling Jesselyn the other day, I literally only saw it about a month before season two came out, so it was very fresh-minded. But I had a whale of a time with season two. And the first thing I wanted to ask wasn't about season two, it was about season one. Um,
Ooh.
the scene in the finale where you're all marching to Blackpink, did you know in that moment that it was going to be Blackpink, or did the director just say, make it as badass as possible and then we'll add some music in post? Because I thought it was great.
Definitely
Um,
the latter. We had no clue that it was gonna be Blackpink, and then I remember I literally watched it, and I was like, oh, "They played Blackpink!" What? It was crazy. It was a crazy, yeah. But we had no
I think
clue.
we had some sort of like faux music, but they were like, this isn't what we're using. And they were like, strut. And we were like, okay. And we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just like make it as badass as possible and just like walk. I'm like, okay.
No, it was very cool. So um, obviously on Big Shot you work with John Stamos, Yvette Nicole Brown, and Jesselyn Glissig. How exciting is that for you as actors to be able to work with names like that? Like, sure, it's gonna be quite fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. I think we all were very knew who everyone was before we got to work with them, but we didn't know we were going to get to work with them until we already had the roles. So I feel like that was a really exciting twist because it was like, what do you mean these people are tied to this project? But yeah, no, they're all just all timers. Literally yesterday I was watching Prom Night, which is just a movie that Jesselyn's in. She just like appears in everything, which is such a there's John who like is Uncle Jesse, and then there's Yvette who's great, and then there's like Jesselyn who just is in everything. And so I always laugh when I watch something else that she's in because I think it's so cool when actresses or actors are just around in everything. But yes, we learn a lot from them.
And they're
Yeah.
incredible. We learned a lot from them. They really took us under our wing and they just taught us a lot about the acting industry. And I'm just like very grateful. And I'm pretty sure you and Tiana and Cricket are about the same.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, working with them is always such a pleasure. And I think we found out first about John because he's John. So everyone was like, did you know? And I was like, oh, yeah. And then you found out about Yvette Nicole Brown. I'm like, you mean the woman I watched the entirety of my childhood? Like, I get to work with her and I get to have scenes with her. And then Jesselyn is just amazing. And because you watch Jesselyn too in Glee. And so I think it's sort of surreal to think of like these people that you grew up watching and grew up essentially aspiring to be, you then get to work alongside, and it's a very, very surreal experience, and I think we're all just extremely grateful to have them.
Definitely. Alongside obviously working with those three, what would you say is possibly your favorite thing about working on this show?
That's a
I
hard
think
question.
for me it's like the love and the sisterhood that we have. I think especially going through a pandemic together. I mean, we met in 2019 and then 2020 happened, and now we're here in 2022 doing only season two. And so we've spent a lot of time together. We really have gotten to know each other, and I think going on set every day doesn't even feel like work. It just feels like hanging out with like some of your best friends.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, I'm an only child and I never had sisters. And I was like, oh my God, I get to like hang out with a bunch of girls that are very supportive and like so much fun to be around. So it's a blessing, honestly.
I would say that's also probably my favorite part. I always talk about it. It's so fun that there's so many of us because it's like, oh, this person's like, has a scene they need to focus on today, so they can't like hang out in between scenes. So I'm gonna go knock on this trailer door, or like, oh, that person's in a mood. I'm headed over here, and so we all just like. There are no hard feelings. It's all very just like it's more like sisters than friends because it's just easy and it's fun, and yeah, you can't help but bond when you do that much basketball practice together.
Yeah.
Are there any sort of elements of yourself and your personal life that you've sort of put into your characters in the show, or is it sort of like a whole new persona,
I
I
basically?
personally, yeah, no, that's a good question. I would say I Samantha was not a full character really when they cast me as her. They were kind of gonna I in the end I found out they kind of went off of how I was playing her, kind of how I am in real life. It was all confusing. And now I'm like, what the heck? But I will say it's been very interesting. I've had people that know me personally reach out a lot and be like, you're a lot more like Samantha in season 2. Like we see a lot more cricket in her now. And I think that came with just first off being able to, have a little bit more material to really try to dive into that. But I just thought that that was such an interesting thing, because some people are like, you're so different than your character. And some people are like, but I still see aspects of you. So personally, I definitely have some sprinkles of cricket in there.
I think the writers definitely wrote our characters off of us. I think like in the first season, obviously the characters have been written, but after they met us, I think those scripts that came after, we had the whole, hi, I'm Tiana, nice to meet you. Like the characters from that point on were so ingrained with like the little quirks we had. They could tell the dynamics we had as a group. And I think they really kind of like just wanted to highlight the natural connection we all had. So I would say if you watch it, like besides maybe the moments where we're fighting, or like there's conflict, because we don't really conflict as a group, I think our characters are extremely similar, especially mine, like Destiny and I would say I put 90% of me into Destiny.
Yeah. And the writers are incredible in the series, and especially in season 2, we're very similar to our characters, like especially Mouse. I just feel like I'm extending who I am as a person when I'm playing Mouse. And obviously there are differences, but like very minimal. And like they're like little elements, like being Filipino in the show. That's just like, oh my God, I get to play a Filipino on the show. That's incredible.
I've also spotted you've got a Mickey Mouse pumpkin in the background, Tiana, so that's very cool.
Listen, okay. My mom, she was a hawk on the Disney website for this because they sold out immediately. So like every 5 minutes she had to like refresh, and at like 9 in the morning, like 8:59.59, 9 in the morning, she got that. So we have to display it. We're very proud. It was,
Blood, sweat, and tears.
We love Disney, huge Disney fan.
Got me done. But yeah, so D23, was that fun? Was that a good time? Yeah.
Yes, that was really fun. I'm not a huge convention person. I just had never been, so I didn't really know what to expect. So personally, I thought it was so cool and just like a lot to take in at once. And especially to be on like the creator side of it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm a convention person, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And like being on the creator side, I'm like, oh, what's going on? So it was like incredible. And like getting to see the people in person who actually watch our show, it's surreal.
Yeah, I had gone to Comic-Con when I was younger with my family. I dressed up as Ahsoka. And so then coming back here now to go to D23 and to see all the cool Disney stuff and the Star Wars stuff, now that Disney and Star Wars are together, it was such a cool experience. And especially to be behind the scenes, I loved it. I had an amazing time.
The next question sort of carries on really nicely. Is there, I asked Jesselyn this as well, is there a Disney Plus show that you'd love to be a part of? Perhaps Marvel, Star Wars, any of that you'd throw yourself into?
All of the above. All of the above. I'd love to be a part of literally anything. I'd also love to play a villain one day, I think, personally.
Yeah.
I feel that. I'm just ready for like, I don't know, a show about me. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, there are honestly so many different vibes that Disney Plus covers that I think it's really cool. I feel like you can go so many directions with that question, because it's like, yeah, do I want to be a villain? Do I want to be in the Star Wars world? I'm not a huge fan of either of those to watch as much, but to be a part of, I think that process would be incredible and so cool to be a part of. So I'm not ruling anything out.
Oh my God, if there was like Princess Diaries 3, if there was Princess Diaries 3, I would want to be in Princess Diaries 3, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. I don't know.
We'll get the petition started.
Yeah, plant the seeds, Tisha.
Yes.
So season 2 obviously brings the boys into the picture, and I really liked how it raised a lot of points about gender equality in sports. How important as storytellers for you was that bringing that in this season?
I mean, I think it was huge because it's sort of what our show represents. You know, it represents strong women and it represents, you know, girls who are not afraid to go for what they want. And I think the introduction of the boys really served to show just how strong we as characters are, but to show that, you know, those inequalities do exist. And even in a place where we are supposed to be prioritizing women and prioritizing girls in sports and all of that, you know, those inequalities still managed to find their way to kind of seep in. And so I think we did a good job at highlighting that and hopefully continuing to push some change about it.
Yeah, I feel like we covered it a touch in season 1, but I feel like, yeah, bringing Ava in, who comes from like the realm of, you know, professional sports. So she already has that. So then when the boys come in and she's like, this is how it is in the professional world and the high school world and all the worlds. So I feel like, yeah, it definitely felt very important and obviously is a very real issue. So I like that we covered that.
And like, especially in season 1, we lived in kind of a bubble. And when we went to season 2 and we introduced boys, and it just became like real life. And it's so important to highlight that because it's so real. And there are so many inequalities in sports. And yeah, I think it's just like so important to touch on it.
So, final question. Should you guys get picked up for a season 3? Is there anything in particular you'd like to see? Is there a particular direction you'd want to see the story go, perhaps?
I think we're all hoping for season 3, but I think it'd be really interesting to see. I know we have Nell's character starting to go into college, but I think it'd be interesting to see maybe a time jump or something interesting like that, and see everyone kind of start to go their own separate ways in life, in the show. You know, I'd love to see what Destiny ends up doing, love to see what Mouse ends up doing, where they end up at college, if they go to college together. I think there's a lot of questions that could be answered in another season.
Yeah. I personally like to see Mouse come into her own a little bit more. You kind of see that with the help of Harper, but I want to see her just become her own woman and just not depend on someone else to be more confident.
Like that.
Yeah, I would say I love the relationship aspect of the show so much, between friendships and romantic and whatever. So I feel like if we had another season, I would love to like dive deeper into very specific friendships and like really see how people operate and like just more into that, because I feel like we haven't had that many scenes where it's like 2 girls or a couple of girls. I know like Tiana and Nell had a couple scenes like that, but it's like I feel like I love those moments so much to watch as a viewer that I feel like those are super special.
Agreed.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much, and well done again on season 2.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.